Hey guys, it's Uncle Doug. I'm doing a quick video. I want to respond to a particular user of YouTube who has made a comment on the last video I loaded about the Legal Defense Fund. And it's a reasonable question, and there may be other people with it on their mind. And I think he kind of expects that I won't answer it, but I do want to anyway, I want to answer it. Anyway, so I'm sorry, I was reading. I shouldn't have been doing that. I should be talking to you. Sorry. Okay. Let me read you the comment. I don't think it matters if I put his, her, I think it's a his, whatever. I'm going to prove it. It's on the last video, so it's not like you can't find who made the comment anyway. And I think it's a reasonable question. I want to respond to it. So here's key to salvation is revelation is the username. And here's the comment that came in 3 hours ago, according to the YouTube whatever thing here. And they say, at the risk of being scolded, I will ask, at what point do you stop throwing money at this, meaning the farm and everything? What sign will it take for you to admit that maybe on this issue you weren't hearing Jesus and this is something personal that you thought up? This is getting very serious, and to throw out God told me will not look good if this thing doesn't come to pass. Throwing out Bible verses to justify this or that does not give anything legitimacy. You are very much respected, Doug, and you seem to do a lot of good. I pray that Jesus will clearly reveal to you which direction to go on this. Don't assume that because Guru Chris LaSala's farm is moving forward is because Jesus wants it to. Chris ain't my guru. Many gurus have been successful and fallen. Some don't fall. Doesn't mean Jesus is behind it. If nothing else, your predicament may well bring to light who runs this world, and then everyone can move on to getting their focus on God's kingdom. Please, Doug, for myself and all others who are watching to see what happens, at what point do you stop throwing good money after bad? I think you owe it to all those who are on the fence about whether or not to support this cause. I won't be surprised or offended if my comment doesn't show up or if it isn't responded to. But I pray it does make it to you and that you consider what is said. I believe I'm not alone on these issues, as I can see the thumbs down that I normally don't see on your videos. I normally see them on my videos. Blessings in the name of Jesus. Well, blessings back to you. And let me respond to this. Okay. I guess I can understand how at a distance I haven't been clear with all the information. Some of that is because we are being challenged by neighbors, and I don't necessarily want to give them all the information of what we're planning to do so that they can just line up ahead of time, prepare resistance, hire lawyers, or do whatever. So I'm trying to balance all of this, but let me give you this, the overview of the situation. Okay. God provided the money for the down payment on the land. The owner of the land is owner financing it for us, which works great because of his circumstance with the bank. He owns, we would be making payments, some to him and some to the bank, or we would pay off the bank and then hit owner finance the rest. But then if something went bad, the bank would take all the money and they'd be in the first position and leave him out. So it makes a lot of sense. We have a short-term mortgage with a balloon payment, okay? So that gives us 5 years, which about half a year's gone, to go to a bank, refinance the property if we want to, or pay it off, or whatever we want to do with it. We already have about $140,000 of equity in the property. So we're well over 25% or something like that of the value of the property in equity. So because of the improvements that we've made, because of the work we've been doing, because he cut the cost for us. We gave him a tax credit for it. All of that combines to where we're in a real good position to be able to go to the bank, even though we're not your traditional church, to go to a traditional bank or to some other financial option, and refinance the whole property, or believe that the money's going to come in the next year or two to pay it off. In the meantime, we occupy the land. Okay, this is not a question of throwing good money after bad, as if I didn't hear that this was supposed to be a property we were going to use. We are using the property. Okay, I'm about to load up a video with the animals all getting settled into their places, temporary places. We're going to start getting the garden planted in the next week. The only thing, we haven't got the chapel area all fixed up for us to be able to occupy that yet, because we have to dig up the septic system, have it inspected, verify how large it is, enlarge it if necessary to handle the number of people that are going to be coming to whatever church services or Friday movie night or weekend conferences or whatever we do there. We're also pre-approved for hotel, pre-permitted by right. So we're working with architects and engineers on how best to do that so that people can be living on the land, even if they're short-term visitors that come for conferences or interns that want to help with the farm or whatever. Which may or may not include some staff that can live on site to supervise the hotel. Now, we're also appealing here in Clay County the decision as to why college and university, which we're pre-permitted for, can't have residence halls and couldn't have staff living on site and whatever. And we've used examples like Benedictine College, Rockhurst College, St. Mary College, and other Catholic colleges around here that have the fathers and the brothers and the nuns that live on campus, that teach the classes for the kids that live on campus and whatever. So we've said all along we want this to be a teaching college. We want this to be a place for prayer, for a retreat center where people could come and take all kinds of classes on bushcraft, on permaculture, on Bible, on how to hear God better, on deliverance, and whatever. And be ordained, be sent out, be agricultural missionaries that we can send out to other places and so on. All of that is proceeding. All of that is moving forward. Okay, I'm working on curriculum. We're working on all kinds of that stuff. We're setting up all of the hydroponic bays. We've got to upgrade some of the electric inside there to handle 6,000, 8,000 watt lights and stuff like that. None of the lights are 6,000 watt lights. They're 1,000 watt lights, but anyway, you get the point. You can't just plug 6,000 watt lights into one circuit and one outlet in a room. We got to run extra lines and all kinds of stuff. And some of that depends on Shane. Shane is an expert farmer that knows all about this stuff, that has been in Washington State, and God has told him to invest everything he can into his farm, and that it was for something else. We got a farm. The Lord said, it's for them. Pack all your stuff and go to Liberty. Okay, there are 2 or 3 other families, professionals, grown-ups, adults with skills, with talents, with all kinds of stuff that right now are looking for property, are packing, are getting ready to move here. Plus Christine we just went and got, plus other people that are here. There's a wave of people coming. Okay, all of that is a sign to me from the Lord that this is him. That I can't talk Shane and his wife and his little kid into packing all their stuff in Washington State that they've never been out of, practically not out of the county, and move to this little town and be a part of this. I didn't talk Christine into this. God is moving on people's hearts to come here. Okay. The entire fight, which the Legal Defense Fund is for, is about getting full-time residential rights on the property. And it has to do with a constitutional argument about whether or not a church whether or not zoning can define church as a Sunday and Wednesday night building that's empty the rest of the time, or whether it's a violation of the Establishment Clause for them to tell us what kind of church we have to be. Because church is already approved in this zoning district. And then they said, okay, but you can't live there. And I said, but we're that kind of church. Just like the Quakers, just like the Shakers, just like the Moravians, just like a bunch of groups in the past before us, just like hundreds of intentional communities all over the world. And they said, no, that's not what the zoning code says. It says you can do this and this and this, and none of them are residential. No homeless shelter, no whatever. Okay, no overnight, nothing. You can't park an RV out back when the missionaries come to stay. You can't whatever. And I said, this is what churches do. They have sleepovers with the youth group. They have all of these things. This is part of who church is. They're not even allowing for a parsonage. Okay. We believe it's a violation of our civil rights. I didn't go looking for someone. The attorney that wrote our LUPA contacted us and said, we want to defend you. We believe this is a good case. He's a Christian brother, sent me his book up here about Paul in the book of Acts. Anyway, and then shoots us a super, super duper lowball number as far as what our portion of this is supposed to be. This could run into hundreds of thousands of dollars. And he says, we need to spread the cost of this around. What can you handle? And he says, can you handle 30,000? No. Can you handle 15? I said, no. He said, can you handle 5? I said, yeah, I think we can do 5. Okay, with our budget, but we're talking about, our risk in this is very small compared to the totality of potentially the work that's going to have to be done to get this cleared up. And I think it does make a difference because we're a refuge. God has called us to be a refuge, and there are lots of other people being called to build refuges all over. And they're going to run into zoning, and they're going to run into the state, and they're going to need precedents. And if this does go to court, if this does go to federal court, if we win, then this is a precedent. Along with there's our LUPA precedents. I don't think we're the first out there. I think there's plenty of evidence, plenty of cases that our attorney is going to show the city, the state, the county rather, it's not the city, to say you're on very, very thin ice here, and you need to squeal, and you're violating civil rights, and if you don't squeal, we're going to go to court. There's going to be damages. There's going to be attorney's fees and everything else. Now, okay, here's how I know that this is God. He always has a backup plan. And I didn't have to finagle it myself. It just shows up, okay? And doors start flinging open, and things start happening. I haven't talked about it for the aforementioned neighborhood reasons, but we are being given residential properties near the farm to rehab them and put staff in them until to own, free and clear, given residential properties to clean up and fix up and live in. And when we do get permission to live on the property, those will still be available for guest housing, for more staff, for people that are coming with their families or whatever. So there's nothing about this that is good money going after bad. I don't see it that way at all. We had committed, for example, to paying $6,000 to the engineer that was doing up all of the wastewater treatment. And that was for the initial recommendation to the Department of Natural Resources, the initial design, and then helping us all the way through, design it, put it in, check it, engineer it, all of that kind of stuff. Well, a bunch of that money is not getting spent now. And that we haven't paid but that we sort of budgeted that was going to be part of the expense. Because the village isn't going to be, the village got turned down. The little triangle in the corner of the property, if you're reading about the zoning application. When zoning said, no, you can't do that, then, okay, that stops. Okay, so money to him stops, I presume. We may have overpaid him. I don't know what he feels. I haven't talked to him because he just had cancer surgery. Please pray for him. Gary, very sweet guy. Anyway, we may get a credit back for what we've already paid, about $2,000 or $3,000, I think $3,000 to him. Okay, because that stops. But he may be able to help us with the septic that we need to put to enlarge for the church, for the hotel, for whatever else we're going to do. So that's where we are on that stuff. Now, also, if we were going to connect to the city sewer, it was going to cost us $6,400 to talk to the city about connecting to the sewer, because they wanted $250 per house we were going to build, even if we never built them all. Just to sit down and hear from them if we could connect to the sewer, how much it was going to cost, and so on. Well, if we're not building the village, if it's just a matter of connecting the cave to the sewer, then it's $250 to have that meeting and see what it's going to cost to connect the cave to the sewer. And then later on, if we want to add something else, we'll have a $250 meeting about that, and a $250 meeting about the next one, and so on. Because I don't know what all we're going to build, and I don't have to give them a long range plan, because there's no zoning hearing on the stuff that we're already permitted by right to build. Okay, so I know that it's the Lord because He's opening doors for us to live near the farm already anyway until this gets settled. I know that it's the Lord because we're permitted by right. We ran into something the other day about animal production, that C3 zoning on the piece of our land was going to be a problem to raise the animals, except that I forgot that, and zoning called and said you can't do all those animals on that land. And I looked through the code book, and one of them is animal production that we are permitted by right to do. And I said, this is animal production. This is a permitted by right, whatever, regardless of what size of the animals or the number of animals. It doesn't specify. So they back down. So there, even technicalities in their law that I had forgotten or missed are now coming back to help us do everything that we had been planning on doing on that property. So we're going to be able to live near the property. We're going to be working on hotels so other people can come stay on the property. We're going to have the chapel in the property as soon as the ground unfreezes, which is pretty close now. I've just got to get backhoe down there, dig it up, have it inspected, and then see how much we need to enlarge it to accommodate the number of people that we want to have out there. We've got free engineering, we've got free architects, we've got other people donating services. Left and right, people have been donating services. There's a real good chance that this attorney, that if it goes to court and they win, we'll get all the money back that we paid in attorney's fees, plus damages, and be able to apply that to grow the whole thing. So I would be careful to argue that spending more money means it's not God. There have been a lot of times we've rented these townhouses, one over here, 106. We've been there 10 years. Okay, $900 a month for 10 years. The thing is only worth $50,000. We've paid $60,000 in rent. I tried to buy it from her years ago. She should just give it to me now for how much we paid. God doesn't seem to mind. Paul lived in a rented house. He wasn't always buying everything where he went. God's economy is not exactly the same. And let me consider this. Let's say we spend $5,000. The attorney sends the letter. The county doesn't squeal. It goes to federal court. The judge awards damages plus attorney's fees. Now we're back the $5,000 we paid in lawyers' fees, and $100,000, $20,000, $50,000, I don't know how much that we can justify that the court will agree to in damages, but we're paying double rents. Our civil rights have been violated. We haven't been able to really work the farm. Times when we weren't there, we were vandalized to the tune of thousands of dollars. I could write up some real justifiable damages to how we've been harmed by having to do all this. Not to mention all of the fees to go through the zoning mess, all of the fees to go through to have to sue them to get our civil rights restored. So it's entirely possible that this is part of how God wants to A, set a precedent, and B, make them pay for the expansion of the farm to be able to be the refuge and do everything that we're supposed to do. Oh, my screen went dead. Hold on. Come on. Thank you. Okay. Now, I understand that people are watching and they're like, but this farm never seems to be happening. But it is. It totally is. And it's beautiful, and people are coming from all over. I think, as far as us having conferences there and having weekly service and Friday night movie nights and inviting people there, we're not far off. I mean, and that stuff, we've got, I think, $700 we've got to pay to have the septic inspected, unless we dig it up ourselves and they can just come look at it. I probably could get a septic inspector for free or real cheap through the contacts that are coming that are wanting to help. Then we have to figure out how much we have to enlarge it for the capacity of the sanctuary we want to have, and plus whatever we're going to do for hotel, add that in as well, plus wherever we might want to go down the road for extra housing, overbuild it, and then increase the laterals, increase the tank. I don't know how much it's going to be. It just depends on what our options are to accommodate the total number of people on that property, and whether or not the motility of the soil and how long the laterals are, how much room we have there, and so on. So that's all stuff that we got to figure out. If that can't work and the septic we have can't be expanded, then we have to talk about hooking to the sewer and dealing with the city, which I really just don't want to do. So, anyway, I hold myself responsible for not having been able to explain to you better the really amazing, beautiful things that are happening there. We got a Bobcat on loan, we got a tractor on loan, we got a forklift on loan, we got, all of the animals, all the cages, all the everything ready to be a pretty sizable operation. A young man that just came that's really great with the engines, that's got the tractor running now, that's got some of the other stuff that was broken fixed. So it's just, everything is falling into place. We've got some professional musicians that are coming, and guys with all kinds of talents, ladies with all kinds of talents that I know God is sending to get in place to do all of these things. It is not throwing good money after bad. It is a very inexpensive, all things considered, way to build a refuge that will care for lots and lots and lots of people. Not to mention that we're using the cave for storage for all kinds of stuff that we were renting space before for. Stuff is still accumulating. Anyway, it's just every time we find that we need something, somewhere it's sitting around in the cave. Whether it's extension cords or pipes or culverts, or there's just all kinds of resources that were there before we got there that are helping do everything that we need to do. It's really amazing. Anyway, there's fire alarms there already. There's all kinds of stuff. There's exit lighting. There's all kinds of stuff that we just have to get tuned up or put in the right places for what we need it for, and we're good to go. So as far as the chapel goes, I need to spray paint some walls. We need to fix some drywall holes where there was damage. We got the furnace working already. We got to do a little bit of plumbing in the bathrooms to get the showers in the bathrooms working, and fix a ramp so that it meets ADA requirements. couple of exit signs, exit lights, and we're good to go. If we're going to do hotel, we may have to put in sprinklers. It's just none of that is non-overwhelmable, and none of it is stuff we can't do ourselves. It's just a matter of chipping away at the list until everything is in place. And this is a humongous undertaking with little budget, not many people, and potentially a humongous impact. Love you, Trey. I'll call you right back. Anyway, so like I said, it's a perfectly reasonable question. I'm glad that you asked it. I'm happy to answer it. What I can tell you is that relentlessly God is pounding forward on this. I know that this is where we were supposed to be. Every day as people come, Shane has been shocked by the amount of resources we have, but they've just been up wandering around the property, finding new places where the animals could be stored, or new resources that are just stashed around the land. Fencing right where we needed it that we didn't know was there. All kinds of stuff. So there's just just overwhelmingly, I know that it's the Lord. It's not that we're not occupying the property. We are. We're working on, now that the winter's passed, we can get out and start working on planting. We got 300 trees need to get planted this week, to buffer some of the views from the neighbors and to, beautify the property. We got mulberries, blackberries, we got pecans, we got cherries, we got all kinds of trees that were super, super, super cheap. I think I spent $100 something on like 500 trees. Anyway, it's just, I just can't even tell you all the people that have donated time, donated services, donated trucks and trailers and all kinds of stuff to help us get this done. And it continues. God continues to provide. I believe the money's going to come for the lawyer. I believe the county's going to lose. They have to lose. It's a slam dunk. Everybody knows it. The attorney knows it. But I think it is important for communities of faith down the road that as many of these kind of precedents are settled law as possible. Maybe that's not the point. Maybe it's just so that when it happens, y'all can say, "Hey, Doug, I was with you all the way. I believed from the beginning you were right. It took a year to work it all out so you guys could live on the property full time. But sure enough, God's with you." I don't know. I don't need an attaboy. I don't need people to say that I was hearing right. I don't mind people thinking maybe I'm hearing wrong. The neighbors that hired a lawyer that got their no verdict against us think they won, and all they did was help this move along faster. So, I just see God plowing forward on this, and us enduring, and that being part of the refining, part of the challenge, to see who will stand, who will believe in the vision and plow forward, and who will fall away at the slightest little bit of struggle or personal expense or cost or persecution or whatever. Anyway, I hope I answered the question. Please feel free to comment on the video. We'll dialogue back and forth about it. If I need to make some more video, I will. But I want to bless you in Jesus' name and all the others that are out there. I don't for a minute believe that it's throwing good money after bad. Unless we write the letter to the city, to the county, and the county squeals, it's going to go to court, and we're going to get all the money back for lawyer fees, plus damages. So I'm not, it might be that this initial money doesn't come back because that pays for the letter, to get this done. But even then, I'm gonna hope that some of that pain spreads around a little bit, and it's not all on us to get that done either. Anyway, I can't tell you that I know how exactly it's going to go. There are people sympathetic on the county, and this gives them an out to say, you know what, yeah, we'll just do what you got to do and work with building codes and, whatever. I don't know. And some that maybe want to dig their heels in and fight it out in court and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't know. As usual, the lawyers make out the best of everybody. But I think this is a good guy. I believe he's on our side. I believe he's trying to hear God real good. And he's dedicated his practice to fight for churches. This is the main bulk of what he does is our LUPA cases and religious rights issues. So anyway, I hope that answers the question. I believe you're going to see more in the upcoming days. We got a conference coming up next weekend. I'm going to try the best I can to videotape as much of that as possible. I don't know how many we have coming in right now. I think we've got 6 or 8 that have RSVP'd. I'm not sure who else. And then we got the April conference. I think we got 4 that have RSVP'd for that already. If you plan on coming for the conference, please let me know so we can try and find space for you or arrange for a hotel or recommend a hotel or whatever for you. Anyway, and I know I'm behind on some emails doing that, recommending hotels, and I'm going to get to that hopefully tonight. Anyway, God bless you all. Thanks for listening. I'm sorry it was so long. Anyway, in the name of Jesus, amen.